Hey guys, it's Jay. Welcome back to my channel. We discuss popular culture of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Happy 2019, guys. Wow, it's been quite the year for me. And I imagine it's been quite a year for you guys too. I've gone through a lot of changes with this channel. There are a lot of things I've been doing differently, some things which have stayed the same, but in a lot of ways, I think we've been growing together. And I really do appreciate that. I also want to thank each and every one of you who have been supporting this channel, watching me grow, watching me change the way I do my presentations, the way I present things. And well, some of you guys have mentioned that it's a little bit unusual the way I do my presentations, but you know what? I think that's my thing. I think that, I don't like reading off of teleprompters or anything like that. A lot of what I do is very ad-lib. I like to think of things on the fly, which is, in some cases, you'll see me, look up a little bit because I'm thinking, or look down, or to the left or to the right. These are things because I'm remembering some of the things that I do as I'm talking to you guys. It's very important to me to be honest and to be real about my experiences with anime, cartoons, toys, all these great things that I remember growing up. And that's really what I wanted this channel to be. I wanted it to be very real. I wanted just to share my own experiences and my growing up here in Canada, and being surrounded by amazing things through my youth with giant robots, anime cartoons, which I didn't even realize were anime at the time. Just those wonderful experiences you have when you're growing up. And of course, as you probably realize, I'm a huge toy lover. I love toys. I love collectibles. I love, just look behind me. You can see, all the great stuff that I've collected over the years and that I've talked about. My love for Force 5, the very first experience with anime I ever had, and not even realizing it was anime. The kind of cartoons that I watch right now, even now that I'm, as old as I am, I still love cartoons. I still love animation. I still love, going to the movies and watching Wreck-It Ralph and, all these new amazing cartoons. But in my opinion, when I started this channel, there's just something I miss about the old school animation that I used to watch. The types of... you actually look at some of them and they still have their, not so clean film. There's film grain on it. There's some dust spots, but those are great things that you remember as a kid. You know what I mean? The FBI warnings on the beginning of videotapes, all those little quirks. And if anybody remembers FHE, that was some of my favorite brands of videotapes back in the day, because, they brought me Transformers and Thundercats and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all these great cartoons that I remember growing up. G.I. Joe, great stuff. And all those things are coming. All the reviews that I make, I'm really excited to be bringing more and more and more of them as the channel grows. There are just so many things I want to talk about. I wish I had so much more time. It's difficult doing this, and still having a full-time job and maintaining your regular life. It's a really tough thing to do. Today I'm rambling a little bit, but I really wanted to just sit down and kind of reminisce about some of the things that happened over the past year, some of the great episodes that I went through and really enjoyed. And, just talk a little bit more about what I plan to do with the channel and where I want to go with this. Firstly, I think it's important to kind of remember where we started. And, when I started this channel, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, if you watch my very first episodes, they were about the Force 5 series. And you can tell I really had no idea what I was doing, I didn't know how to act in front of the camera, if you will. I had no script. I literally was, this is pretty much the way it was. It was like me talking to a camera and just, pouring my heart out. There was nothing scripted at all. Actually, most of my videos, as I've explained, for the most part, are not scripted. I usually do 1 or 2 takes. Sometimes I screw up and I'll stop the camera and, I'll do another take. But for the most part, I really don't like having a script. I mean, I've never actually used scripts. I do like to have notes. Like sometimes I'll have my phone and I'll have IMDb up and I'll just do a quick reference about who the actors were, for example. And some of you might have noticed that. Sometimes you might notice that there's a jump cut here and there for when I'm explaining who the actual voice actors were or who was involved in the production or who starred in the film or things like that. And you know what? Those are little tricks that I do to try and keep the flow of the video going. Instead of you seeing me on a computer and just typing in, oh, you know what? Who was in this film? Oh, yeah, it was, Drew Carey or it was, some voice actor. And, those are kind of, this doesn't make for a good presentation. Whereas, a few jump cuts here, they are a little bit jarring, but, I think it's become a little bit more of my style. But when I first started doing this, my intention, it's funny because I never really expected anybody to really watch what I was doing. I never actually expected anybody to, enjoy watching me talk about old cartoons. I just sort of, wanted to relay my own feelings about these, things that I really, really love and really, really enjoy. And I don't know, it just seemed like a really good fit to get on a camera and start talking about it. And it just kept going from there. I started talking about anime after that, and then I started talking about toys, which I thought, was a really big jump. I wasn't expecting that to go anywhere. But you know what? Apparently people love, some of these collectible Solo Chokugen toys, and I've been getting a really good responses from that, and I think that that's great. And then some of you might know about my love of swords, and I was very fortunate enough to be able to review a lot of the Lord of the Rings swords that I have access to, and I've been getting a lot of interesting feedback from that as well. It's kind of funny. Yeah, it really has been quite the journey. And then I started talking about the cartoons, from when I was a really, really little kid. And I find it really interesting because, for the most part, I think I started off wanting just to remember some of these funny cartoons which I remember growing up. And not that I'm very fond of them. Actually, no, I am very fond of them. We have this channel here in Canada called TV Ontario, specifically here in Ontario. And it would run really like primary school cartoons for younger kids, all the way up to like, political discussions. But, for me who was growing up in Canada, they had shows like Polka Dot Door, Today's Special, and then they had cartoons like, Dr. Snuggles and, The Green Forest, Fables of the Green Forest, and these were amazing things which I really loved. I loved those things. I did love Polka Dot Door and I love Today's Special. We'll get to those, some of the live action stuff. But my big thing about this channel is definitely about the cartoons. And I remember these things about like the Fables of the Green Forest. Nobody talks about these. Nobody talks about Dr. Snuggles. At least I barely ever see these things. And I figured, why not talk about them? Why not talk about the new adventures of Pinocchio? Why not talk about, Hercules and his friend Newt? You know what I mean? And Rocket Robin Hood, Amazing Spider-Man from 1978, I never actually expected anybody to even remember any of this stuff. And yet, you know what? It was amazing. People reached out to me and people started saying, oh my God, I remember that. I remember these cartoons that you're talking about. And that really took me back. That took me back. And I thought to myself, hey, it's not me. I'm not alone. I don't, I didn't just dream these things up. You know what I mean? Like, actually, I talked about that in the Barbapapa episode where I swear I thought I dreamt up Barbapapa. And you know what? It's amazing how many people thought the exact same thing. They literally somehow found my video and are commenting on it and saying, hey, yeah, you know, I remember that too. And for me, that's a really great thing. And I really, and that's what really kept me going. That's what really kept making me want to continue making these videos. Because there was a time, you know, I don't know if any of you guys have watching or have tried doing your own videos, but these are not easy. You know, it takes us quite a long time to produce these videos, depending on if you're going to do it in one cut or if you're going to do multiple cuts or things like that. But you know, if you've ever tried to do any sort of video production, whether it's non-linear editing or just, you know, even back in the day with videotapes, you know just how hard it is to get clips and to make something look interesting at the end of the day. So, you know, I really think that that's what kept this, you know, my motivation to keep going and to keep sharing and to keep doing all these things, because, you know, people out there were responding to me and saying, hey, you know, I totally remember that. That was a really great cartoon. And you know, there's something that, you know, we connected on a certain level. And, you know, I really do have to thank each and every one of you guys who have been following me and watching me and watching me and the channel grow. You know, we're almost up to, oh my God, we're almost up to 900 subscribers right now. And that to me is amazing. You know, guys, it may not seem like a lot compared to like the Casey Neistats out there and the, you know, PewDiePie's like, you know, 12 million, 10, 13 million subscribers. You know what? For me, though, it really means a huge amount that even 5 or 6 people would even listen to what I'm trying to say. And you know, to say that there are almost 900 people out there who would even want to listen to me, wow, that's a huge, huge thing for me. And for you guys, I really do want to thank each and every one of you who have watched and followed me on this channel. It really means the world to me, and I really appreciate everything you guys do. Please keep those comments coming in. Please keep telling me, give me suggestions of new cartoons or things that I've already forgotten. Like, I've watched stuff that I've totally forgotten, you know what I mean? And somebody will just like say something and it'll click in my head and I'll be like, oh yeah, I totally remember that. And then, you know, I'll want to do a cartoon, an episode on that. And it'll be, you know, for me, it's really, really awesome. One of the things I did differently this year is I started looking into television specials. And I remember as a kid, you know, you'd hear this little jingle, and I sort of incorporated it into my intro for this holiday special season. And I remember being a kid and, you know, sitting down with my parents and, you know, just watching TV. And all of a sudden you hear this little jingle and this huge special logo come up on the screen. And as a kid, back in the 80s, that was like the best thing because you knew something cool was going to come on. Now, you didn't know if it was going to be live action or if it was going to be cartoons, but at the end of the day, you knew that you were going to get a break from the mundane, you know, Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or, you know, whatever variety show was on around that time, like Hee Haw or something like that. You knew that there was going to be at least something which was mildly entertaining for both kids and families and parents. And I remember specifically watching the Rankin and Bass cartoons, and those things to me were pure gold. And I want to talk more and more about Rankin and Bass, their contributions to cartoons as a whole, and really their overall roots. It's my goal to actually one day, you know, do a real big retrospective on Rankin and Bass, their studio, and what, you know, they did for cartoons and animation over the years. And I hope that you guys will enjoy that. So obviously, one of the things I focused on this year was the Rankin and Bass holiday specials, like Frosty the Snowman and The Little Drummer Boy. You know, when I was growing up, these things were really, really prevalent on television. And particularly around the holiday season, they really did come out, and you really could, you know, get a sense that the holidays were coming and that Christmas was around the corner. And I remember watching these cartoons and just having this nostalgia about, you know, getting ready for Christmas. You know, the tree was going up. And in the stop motion animations themselves, you know, oftentimes you'll see animals decorating trees and, you know, baubles and gold tinsel and foil and things like that. And I remember learning about those things from Rankin and Bass. And it was really a beautiful kind of thing to be with your parents and with your family watching these cartoons. And then, you know what, afterwards, just getting ready, wrapping gifts and, you know, getting ready to, you know, celebrate Christmas with everybody who you loved and cared about. And for me, those are the most fondest memories I have growing up as a kid. So whenever I talk about these things, growing up, I have this really fond memory, and I joke about it a lot. How the Little Drummer Boy, was really kind of poorly animated, and Frosty, being a snowman, how the heck could he possibly know all these types of things? He just, the thermometer. What does a snowman know about a thermometer? But these are these wonderfully cute, childlike things that only Rankin and Bass could actually conceive of, and really brought to cartoons as a whole. And for me, that's huge, and I really want to talk about those things and remember them. Yeah, 2018 was interesting. I went to Comic-Con for the third time, and I really enjoyed myself. Me and my friend David, we went all over the place. We saw a whole bunch of new things, and if you guys haven't seen those, I do suggest taking a look at them. They're a lot of fun. You can just skip through them. There are a couple of things which this year, for example, I made it my mission to try and get some stuff from my friend Dan, and unfortunately, my phone is ringing. Check out some of the other episodes I've done. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter.